Hello everyone, this is Carolyn Troiano, and this is Best Practices for Auditing a Vendor of Computer Systems Regulated by FDA, presented through Compliance Training Panel. Thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate your time. So our agenda today, we're going to first define what we mean by GXP systems, provide some overview of what we mean by computer system validation, the System Development Life Cycle Methodology, the SDLC, FDA compliance, vendor audit background, strategy and planning, execution, post-audit considerations, and then we'll get into some sample audit concerns and recap with key takeaways, and finally Q&A. GXP is defined as a system, whether it's an IT system, meaning an application, or an automated system, something that is running or controlling some device or piece of equipment. It's used to develop, produce, test, store, or distribute any kind of FDA-regulated product, whether that be pharmaceutical, biological, medical device, tobacco, or something else. And as of Monday, August 8th, the Tobacco Control Act was extended to e-cigarettes and vapor products, so they would fall under this as well. FDA in 1983 issued their first guidance on computer system validation called the Blue Book. It's the process of assuring a system does what it purports to do. That's language provided by FDA, does what it purports to do. And to do that, you have to thoroughly test your system and validate it and make sure it meets all of the functional requirements that you've laid out for it. So you expect a certain set of functional requirements, and your testing proves that the system does what it purports to do, meaning the functional requirements are met. It's based on the Standard System Development Life Cycle, or SDLC methodology for computer systems. This is a standard used in all of industries. It's used mostly in IT organizations. Now the SDLC, you can see, is a way of supporting, it's a framework that supports computer system validation, and it's integral to that methodology. And it runs from selecting, implementing, maintaining, and retiring a system. So this just gives you a visual that we start with our planning, our analysis, we design the system, we code or configure, or maybe we use it out of the box, maybe there isn't any design. But regardless, we test it, and we maintain it in production. The SDLC methodology has some very key elements or deliverables associated with it. These are associated with validation. You want a validation planning document that describes how you're going to approach validation. You have a user requirement specification, which is at a high-level business language. Functional requirements spec, more detailed level, specific requirements that are unique and testable. Your system design specification. One design element has to be written for every single functional requirement you have. Then you get into implementation with your custom development, your configuration, or you could have both or none. It could be out of the box. And then you get into your test planning and execution and documentation. Now when we look at the FDA, they operate on two very key premises that need to be kept in mind. If you didn't document something, you didn't do it. So if you want to provide FDA evidence that something was done, if you want to submit data or information or use it to support the fact that your product is of the right quality and should be released, there's no recourse with FDA. You're innocent until proven guilty may hold up in a U.S. court of law, but in an FDA world, you're guilty until proven innocent. They can issue fines, they can confiscate materials or products, and they can shut down any part or all of your operations. They have a lot of power. Now let's look at vendor audit. So any GXP system that you're using to conduct or support activities that are regulated by FDA have to be validated in accordance with specific requirements. You need to go through the computer system validation process supported by the SDLC or System Development Life Cycle. You have to have all of the deliverables we talked about earlier. During your vendor audit, you're going to look at very key areas. You want to make sure that your strategy and planning process covers all of these. You want to have a vendor audit plan in place to make sure that all of these elements are looked at. Data integrity is one of the most important things when you're being audited by FDA. And so you want to hold your vendor accountable during your audit of the vendor. The vendor has to demonstrate that whatever is going on functionally in the system, the data integrity will always be maintained. How do you select your auditor? You certainly want to identify people that have the right skills and training, people who can really press the vendor and assess what's going on, people that are good, that are inquisitive, that are knowledgeable, and that have a sharp eye. You want to make clear the roles and responsibilities for the team. Everyone should know what their role is, what they're accountable for, and there shouldn't be any confusion or contention in the process of the audit going on. Refer to GAMP or PDA Technical Report 32. This will give you guidance on how to look at key areas when you're doing your audit. It'll guide you to how to look at the quality system for the vendor's project management practices, their methodology for how they develop a system, build a system, or implement a system, how they do testing and traceability. Now, there's a procedure checklist as well for compliance. So the policy tells you what is required, what must be done. The procedure will tell you how that policy will be carried out. You want a computer system validation procedure. It tells you step-by-step how to validate a system. A user requirement specification procedure. How do you gather your requirements? What's the scope of it? Purpose, steps, questions from your discussions. Items that the auditor has to do, deliver to you post-audit. Always have those things done and make sure you follow up and have those questions answered. Give them a draft report. Give them sufficient time to respond before it's finalized. Be specific about remedial actions you're asking them to do. Be reasonable, and especially in terms of the target date. Now, here are some examples of audit concerns picked up when you go in and do a vendor audit. In some cases, they don't look at positive and negative scenario development when they're testing. They don't pay attention to, they may say, this is what the system does, and we tested that it does do that, but they're unconditionally. Make sure that you understand exactly what they're able to do. You could also use them for certain products, product versions, or services only. These are two of the potential outcomes. You want to use them unconditionally, but you can only do so if your vendor results are good, your audit results. They should listen to the vendor. Be respectful during discussions. Let them respond to things that you're finding. Don't compromise quality or compliance. Always make sure that they meet what you need for FDA compliance. And follow through on all agreements and commitments. Okay, thank you everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.